Hey everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to be showing you how to paint these really expressive abstract birch trees in acrylic step by step on canvas. This lesson is focused for beginners, which means I'm going to explain every color mix, every technique, every tool that I'm using. The lesson is going to be broken up into small incremental steps, and that's wonderful for two reasons. One, because you can save your place if you want to come back later, take a bio break or anything that you need to do and find your spot again easily. And also because we produce a written out set of instructions that match the painting 7 to 14 days after the show. We write it up to match, and that will match the chapters. Now on the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
If you're wondering who that voice is, that's who the voice is. It's my husband, John. And what he does is he turns everything on. But more than that, he makes sure that the camera is pointing at what I'm teaching and what I'm doing. And also if I sort of wander off into my own mental space, he pulls me back. It reminds me, hey, we're teaching here.
And sometimes I'm the wanderer.
Sometimes John's the wanderer. It's just how it is. Now, this particular moment, we are live. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't so you don't miss any future lessons. We've got a great series of fall, y'all, grateful art paintings coming up, and then we're going to be boom right into winter. Just when you're about ready for it, we don't hit y'all too soon with it because, you know, it's going to be here a second. All right, you ready to go over the materials, John?
I think so.
Okay. So the materials for today are an 8x8 canvas. I have the wish or intention on the surface today for you that your life is full of hope and joy. I have dioxazine purple, ultramarine blue, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, yellow oxide, burnt sienna, phthalo green, phthalo blue, and up here is a little bit of Mars black. I got my cup of coffee ready for sipping. That's exact. It's not pumpkin spice, but I'm going to be honest.
No.
I like pumpkin spice. I do.
Sure.
I like it a lot. I admit it. I own that reality.
I enjoy seeing that they're doing pumpkin spice oil changes. Those are the great ones. Because you see them now doing pumpkin spice on everything.
Everything.
On
There's
everything.
pumpkin spice, Charmin toilet paper, according to Mark Hamill.
I know. So but you see the advertisers get all funny.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I throw up step one? Ooh, love it. All right, I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet here. This one happens to be a short-handled Catalyst Princeton. Princeton is the brush company. Catalyst is the line of brushes. The size is 3/4 inch. You can have a different brush than me. It'll be okay, especially for this first part. Now, you don't have to have this pretty wish or intention in there. We're just putting that out to begin with. I'm going to take my cad yellow and my cad red, and I'm going to make an orange. And just paint the whole canvas orange to begin with. A little different than what we do. We don't usually do this bright of a beginning. This is called, ooh, I almost put my brush in my coffee, and you cannot eat cadmium. It is super poisonous for inside your body.
Not good for you.
Not good for you. A lot of paint pigments are not good for you. So we're just going to paint this whole background this color. Now, it doesn't need to be really smooth. It can have brush strokes. It can be streaky. All that is fine. We're just trying to get a baseline of color down here to start off. Alrighty, how are we doing today?
Good, I think. Painting
Good.
a surface
Good
orange.
Tuesday.
Orangish.
Rebecca Bender says, my daughter is working at Dunkin'. Well, that is, I mean, I hope she comes home with some stuff from work.
If you come home late, you better bring the donuts.
Exactly. If you come home late, bring the donuts. Oh, Christine Ferris has to go back to work. But you know what? We want you to have financial well-being. So we're going to send you love and wishes for a very happy work day. And we will miss you while you're gone.
May it be prosperous.
Yes, may be prosperous. And may your coworkers and employers be kind.
That sounds like a Ferengi well-wish.
Well, you know, I realize sometimes it gets a little Dickensian up in here. Out there in the world, and I want to wish for everybody to have a little more well-being than that.
Yeah.
Just painting the whole thing this one color. Isn't that nice? It's easy. Now, it's okay that some of my words and everything are showing for me. I have so many layers on this particular painting. And it's such a random kind of like every direction little painting that it's really not going to matter at all for me. Look at that. I got it all red. Now, I will say one thing that you do want to do is make sure that the rounded part of the edge at least is painted on a stretch canvas, because if you frame, you don't want the white to show. And you can even paint all the way around the sides if you don't frame. That is okay. Debbie Martin says that her new paints arrive Friday, so I know what I'm doing this weekend. I know we've got such a great series of paintings through the weekend. I'm trying to give you guys time to paint them before the next great painting, which is why they're a little spaced out. Because they're all so good, aren't they?
They are.
They're just wonderful. I'm really enjoying it. Kind of getting into my groove lately. I'm finding my zen. All right. And it's dirty. My patrons will tell you, because like on our patron paintings, I've been a little bit like retrospective, but I think I'm coming through the other side. I'm hoping.
So thoroughly dry your surface between steps. And the reason is because as we start adding the next subsequent layers, and that changes, the next layers could mix in. And you don't want this color sort of influencing the next layers that you're going to put on them. So to try to isolate those colors from mixing, you cure this layer. One of the cool things about acrylic. So thoroughly dry, don't use heat. Heat is bad, because all sorts of bad things I'll talk about later.
What are we going to talk about later?
Heat.
Oh, yes. On inexpensive paints, it can exacerbate color shift.
That was
Not
the secret.
on all paint, but on inexpensive paints, it can do that.
See, now I don't have anything to talk about next hair drying session. You stole my
You're
thunder.
You're going to need some new material, my dove.
I know.
All right. Heather Medina asked a very good question. If I have cad orange, can I just start with that? Yeah. Yeah, you totally can. That's completely fine. Even if I reduce my color palette down to like the split primaries, you can always just pull a pure pigment. And a pure pigment is lovely because it's so vibrant to the eye. That's why it's wonderful. Shall we put up a step? Step 2. That's what we gotta do. All right. I think I'm gonna use my bright. And I think I'm going to use my bigger bright to see if that works. Now, this is an 18 Raphael d'Artigny Hog Bristle Brush. This is a very nice brush line. This is a heritage brush line, which means the company's been in business for hundreds and hundreds of years making brushes for the masters. So they're wonderful. Also means sometimes they're a little bit expensive. So in your budget, if you already have the Cambridge, you're good. Silverstone would be good in a size 8, or you could do a Simply Simmons by the Robert Simmons line in a size 8. But if you can treat yourself to the brush line, I highly recommend it, or anything that Raphael makes. I do have a friendship with them, just so you understand my bias. It's very important you know my bias. Now I'm going to take a little of my phthalo green over to my burnt sienna, and I'm going to make kind of a very deepy forest green. See how we go here? Deepy forest green. And I'm going to come to the bottom, and I'm going to begin to make little marks. You got to love these little marks, don't you? It's okay if I leave little pops of the canvas in the background. Won't really throw me. That's one of the nice things about having a ground, is that you have some forgiveness in what you're doing. Just a little bit all across the bottom. And kind of take it in this range up to about here, and then we're going to begin adding in some yellow ochre as we move up. Just so I don't throw you with the change. Notice that my brush strokes are multi-directional. Some go this way, some are coming that way. Sometimes I use the corner, and I'm hatching them, mixing them up, and what that's doing is that's hiding the brushwork in a weird way that shows the brushwork. I love that. Don't you love that? Uh-oh, Angela Maxwell has a plumber coming. Well, may your bill be cheap. And the repair be easy. I got wishes for everything. I do. I have good wishes for everything. My goodness. Coming through, coming through, coming through.
Yep.
It's a Tuesday. Tuesday is an interesting day to paint.
Every day is an interesting day to paint.
Every day is an interesting day to paint. My mom will be back soon. I'm very excited about that because we're going to do one of the Monday shows together when she comes back, where we do the Q&A that we had so much fun with last time. Still just doing this cross hatching. Sometimes more brown, sometimes more green. But you can see it's just a rough, loose effect, isn't it? Now, as I'm coming up, I'm going to start to add a little more yellow ochre into this mix. And I'll blend back down into it, as you do. And it's okay that it's a little transparent because this nice glowing orange is behind it. I think Liz is trying to say brush. But I could be wrong, because that's, I mean, but, you know, we're all adults here and we have a sense of humor, so no worries, Liz. No worries. Typos aside, if YouTube isn't grabbing it, and I've only ruled out hate speech, you know, that way you guys are allowed to have a sense of humor. So
right.
If YouTube doesn't grab it and I don't grab it, it's not a thing. And you don't ever have to worry about that. Am I helping with the marathon on Saturday? I believe my contribution to the marathon on Saturday is being off my show before the marathon starts.
I think we'll just generally try to be available to help if they need anything, but we don't have any particular plans to like
I don't even imagine they're going to need anything, you know?
Yeah. Like if we can make sure that dinner is available for them when they want to eat, that probably would be an unexpected pleasure for them. But I think that they pretty much have their own process down pretty good.
Yeah, maybe learning is what we'll be doing. We'll be learning how to run an auction.
Small. We will be Padawan.
I'm going to have to do something. I have too many paintings here at my mom's house. They're like lining all the crown molding. My mom's going to come home and be like, oh, you've been busy. I'm just adding a little more brown now into my yellow ochre and coming up. I'm looser with my brush strokes. It's okay that some of the light is coming through. I don't mind that. I might even just get a little of my green up here and just my yellow, no brown is also kind of good. See how we're doing there? And there we go. This is that first pass. Now, I'm not trying to make TV snow, and you'll notice that my values have changed. I am making things irregular. Can you ever do impasto type birches with a bunch of thick texture? We have done that. In fact, if you have my cloud brushes, there's a whole lesson based on palette knife painting of trees, and you paint really, really thick with it. I've done some fall lessons with them, and they're really fantastic for that. But you can always do that. Always, always do that. And enjoy yourself. All right. And here we go. This is looking good. All right. So, my goodness. Debbie Martin says, I've been putting my little, my paintings in my little cubby at work, and it cheers up my spot. That is fantastic. I'm going to take a little quick sip of my coffee and just reflect on how nice it is that here we are together on a Tuesday, or whenever you're watching on the viewing. We're together and we're just taking a minute to not be involved in chaos, not be stressed out online, not debating anything, not in traffic, not running errands. We're just painting. just painting. And that is really basically okay, isn't it? It's easy to think that painting is just for fine art or high art or those things, but actually painting is just for expression. It's just for us and the time that we get to spend together. It doesn't really have to be anything more than that.
Yep.
I am loving this coffee. Miss Tammy Kay's like, I have plans Saturday afternoon. Woohoo! Hi, Michelle. How are you doing today? It is so good to see everyone. And hi, Grace. How are you? All right. I think I'm going to dry this and then we'll go on to the next step.
Okay. So, here we go. Thank you guys for all hanging out here. We had a little technical kerfuffle before the show. I had doesn't matter, technical stuff that I had fixed and it worked, and I'm sorry for the delay. I apologize, but we're here now and I love that you guys came. Don't forget, in the links in the description down below, you'll find resources for you to complete this really cool birch tree painting that we're doing today. And you will find other projects that you can do down there as well. You'll find links to our website, which is theartsherpa.com. No longer do we live in the 90s and need to add the www to everything.
But we still do.
You can, because it's fun. It's like, you know.
Can you mute me for a second? I got a hiccup.
Sure. I think you're muted now, yeah. But yeah, so it's like, we don't need to add the extra W's anymore. It's optional. Okay, so you need a step, though.
I need a step.
There you go, stepped.
I think I'm going to actually treat myself to a filbert because a filbert does a lot of really good things. I'm going to give myself a nice little filbert here. Make sure it's all primed. It might have left some paint in it. I got to make sure it's rinsed out. Okay, so this is a number 4 Isabey Isacryl. Isabey is also a heritage line. It's a very good line of brushes, and they make a good stiff brush if you're looking for a good stiff brush. And I'm going to start putting in some of the trees and some of the little branches, and I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to use my black and blue, my ultramarine blue, and a little bit of white to start talking about the trees. And the first tree, I'm going to begin right here, kind of on the bottom lefterly side. And I'm going to bring it up here, oh gosh, a little bit over from the left side. And you'll notice I'm taking my brush on the edge and sort of wandering it up. There we go. And I want it to be middle thick. It's, you know, it's definitely a birch trunk, but it's not like an elder birch. Starting to move out of the saplings to an established birch tree, but we're not too worried about it. Look at us go. We're just painting that in. I find that it's easier to thicken than to thin. So I do sort of proceed with caution. I'm on the edge of my brush pulling down. Edge of my brush pulling down.
Yep.
Just coming down there. Ooh, that was a little bit fun. And I just work on that till I'm happy. Okay, when I have that one in, I'm going to do 2 big ones that are kind of V'ing out. So I'll take a little bit of my black over to my ultramarine blue, like you do, a little bit of white. And this is going to be more to the right-hand side. I'm going to take one trunk and I'm going to come up here. And then another trunk just a little bit over, so I need to make sure that I've got room for the width. And I'm going to paint those in. So earlier it was asked, am I in Texas right now? Yes, I am in Houston. I am house sitting my mom's house as we are getting our visas prepared for Ireland. which is going really well, actually. We had to kind of redo a direction we were going, and at first that was a little bit scary, but
Yeah, it turned
it's
out
gonna be
all
okay.
better, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be better. And that was thanks to you guys, because we put up our video letting you know what we were doing, and some of you guys reached out to us and was like, did you know? And we were like, no, we did not know. And so we checked that and ended up getting a really great attorney that knew about you know, the kind of stuff that we do and the business that we have, and now we're just moving along, having a great time. So we're hoping to be that way in January, mid-January.
Yeah.
Digging over here. Again, these are slightly thicker trunks, as you can see. Gonna fill that all in. That's nice, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to add one over here kind of to the left. This is more of a sapling, and maybe it's going to bend in this way as if it's coming behind that little tree. That's a nice little birchy birch. And then I'm going to definitely want to add a couple over here. Little sapling there. And then one that kind of comes up and is further up into the leaves. All right, let's call that a step. Sip our coffee, and then I'll show you what's next. Busy branches.
They are branch.
I'm going to separate those up because I think you've got to get this core in. If you're using a traceable, you could use the traceable now to help you to get these guys in, and then we'll freehand in the little thin birches. Not birches, branches. I'm going to take a Princeton Select #1 liner. I'm going to get that wet. I'm going to go ahead and add a little blue to my black so that there's some continuity between these two, but it's going to feel almost black. And I'm going to thin with some water, which kind of improves the flow of the paint. It's a good idea to make sure you don't have any hidden drops on your brush from the water bucket. And we're going to put in some little branches that will barely show. In with the leaves. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, you can see them a little better that way.
Just a few. You know, we'll have leaves and stuff going around here. So that will actually be nice for us to sort of paint around these. You can see my placement is just kind of dispersing them through the painting a little bit. And another thing that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to kind of come on either side of my birches with this and line them. Nice little lining, a black line. Come on either side and line them. What kind of brush is that for the branches? It is the #1. Princeton is the maker of the brush. Select is the line of the brush, and it's a liner brush. 1 is the size. It is a very nice liner brush for the price point. There are, of course, fine liner brushes out in the world that are spectacular. But for the price, this is a very good liner brush. I'm not being too picky or too worried about it. I know I just want the weight of these lines. That's what I'm trying to get. Miss Tammy K is like, Simon has an excellent older tree tutorial. If you mean the one we're doing in the patrons, because we're doing a very, like, I don't know, we've been painting on, I think, forever. Mostly because I'm just going slow and talking to everybody, and so I'm just doing a little more than teaching in there. Kind of old school, early days of what we did. You could, I know somebody's going to ask me this, so I'm going to answer it now, psychically. Yes, you can use a Posca pen here.
Right, that makes sense.
But I'm just saying it because I know that question's coming. Oh, older is in 2016. Oh, you mean the upward facing birch tree.
Oh yeah, that was on a tall canvas. That was a long one.
It was on a long canvas, and yeah, we painted a weird forced perspective, upward facing birch tree. It was a very strange project.
You also didn't you have a really big 16 by 20 one? You have several birch trees.
I have several birch trees. I have some 16 by 21. I've been on since, I don't know, like, gosh, 2014. Like, that is like one of my big things. I've been on for a minute. There we go. Almost done. Just running those little lines down. Maybe give myself another little branch here. It's kind of a quiet thing, and you'll see I'll bubble a line. The reason I'm not worried about if I bubble a line is because I've got a lot of abstract painting going on around it and inside the tree, and I know it will vanish into the night, as they say. All right. Oh, we have Queensland, Australia. What time, Hannah, is it in Queensland? I'm always like, it's like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, right? It's like some crazy hour. Thank you so much for loving this community to wake up in the middle of the night. As we get through this stuff and the world stops being crazy and everything, we're definitely going to tour around, and I have absolute plans to go to Australia and see my Australian art family. The UK is coming up because we're going to be in Ireland, so we're going to see everybody over there. But we're going to be touring around, and we will come back to the States.
Oh yeah, for sure.
My mom lives here. I'm not going to stay away. Did we step it?
No, not yet. We can right now.
We could step it if we wanted. Now, you could keep using, if you had the 18 Raphael, you could keep using it, but I do want to show you the Simply Simmons, and I happen to have a 6 Simply Simmons. It's a size down from an 8 in the hog bristles, and I'm going to use it for a second just so you can see that it's okay. Like, nothing bad's going to happen. It's going to be all right. And I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre and my cad yellow together. Kind of mix up a bit of a brighter little fall color, and I'm going to tap little leaves kind of between this little branch up here. So you're just kind of working that around. So that's yellow ochre Let me come over that branch a bit. Be a little heavier here. I'm going to loosely sort of place this color around. If you're wondering, when are you going to do the blue sky? That's going to actually, for me, probably be closer to the end of these leaves. That way I can look at the balance of everything and at my reference and then decide how I want to place in the sky peeking through. And Acosta said it was fun to meet me in person, and it was fun to meet you in person. And I'm so sorry we didn't end up being neighbors, because you were one of the bonuses of that. We came very close to being neighbors. See, I'm just placing it in little areas around, brightening it up. Still doing that random, loose sort of brush style. Now, some of you might be wondering, could you do this with a palette knife? And yes, you could do this with a palette knife. Arizona is like, so is Ireland temporaries in a few years location? I don't know that it will be temporary.
I think we're looking for it to be a long-term solution.
Yeah, we're looking for it to be long-term. You know, you can never know what the future holds, but it is our intention to be there long-term. And, you know, let the kids kind of grow up there. And sort of centralized there. It's our hope. You never know. Future can be crazy. See, I'm placing a little bit of that yellow and yellow ochre over here a few places. I think we're going to be very suited to living there. That is my belief based on previous experiences and temperament and stuff like that. I think we're going to be very suited to being there. Oh, it is 3:42 a.m. Hannah is doing this in, Annie Oakley is doing this in a watercolor or a watercolor. H&H has just got back from Ireland, loved it, especially the Wild Atlantic Way. Just like, it's like Roots. It's just as if life is blowing in on you. I don't have a way to explain it, but yeah. It is special. All right. Let's call this a step, and then we'll go on to our next color. Okay. Now I'm going to get back into my yellow ochre and cad yellow, and this time I'm going to add a little bit of my green to it. And come up here and it'll be slightly brighter green. Not everywhere, but I am going to want this a few places. I just know that I will. Now I'm going to add a little green and a little burnt sienna. You'll see it goes deep woodland, doesn't it? I'll come over here and really darken that up. But if I need to get some yellow into it, see, I can go right there. So I've got some leeway. I've got some forgiveness. And come over to my brown if I need to darken it. As I'm coming down. Ah, just builds it up, doesn't it? Little abstracted, fun as punch birch trees. Can I come visit the Coonies if I ever come over to Ireland and to do a family history and tour of Ireland? Maybe actually. We're hoping to have it where we can connect with community there.
Yeah, do stuff.
And do stuff. So, and we're really like looking at some interesting ways to get that done. All right, so I'm adding the green there. So yeah, I would love it if you guys visited me. You know, for sure we'll do retreats and stuff, but even so, like I think we're going to try to do regular meetups. I'm kind of coming along that tree with that green. See how it's filling out?
Preferably not too randomly.
Not too randomly. Plan meetups, but, you know. Come in with a little darker brown. Sometimes I want to get a little bit onto the side of the trees, and then you'll see me kind of work that little edge there. Just making sure we're tucked in with the color. Good way of thinking of it. If I want more yellow coming up, I can do that. See, it just blends up. And we're just working that through. When might you use a double load for a background? Well, I'm still pretty loosely mixing it. You know, I would say that that's more of maybe a one-stroke kind of painting concept, but even then, like possibly for a cloud, you could use a double load, or maybe a mountain line where you're trying to do a sky and a mountain line and have them be blended. For this, it's not particularly necessary. Really darkening this up as we can. And come back through here with this extra dark green. See, it's like a little more phthalo green in the mix. And we're just bringing that depth back through, aren't we? We don't take out everything we painted. We're just making sure that these things are there for each other. And come up here into the upper area. I'll make a little yellow-green mix over here. Got my yellow ochre in it, my cad yellow. I promise I won't stalk you guys. I will give you all hugs. I have to say that in art, I don't think I have the same concerns that like a famous YouTuber might have. You know, like you know, we just don't get we don't really attract the same kind of.
No, not really the same.
Yeah, same kind of weirdness that they could get. I'm going to put some of this dark green kind of over this tree a bit, blending it into the background. Put a couple dark spots there. It's nice to get some dark, you know, in up there, even though it's lighter. Coming back, I've added a little more yellow ochre in. Happy birthday to Teresa's daughter. Oh, that's exciting. I think I'm excited. We got to trick or treat for the first time in, well, gosh, a while. Um,
Yeah, that was really cool.
yeah, it really was super, super cool. Just been just a minute forgetting how fun that was. And the kids were hysterical. They cracked me up the whole way. Bring some of this slightly lighter color kind of blended down into the dark. See, I'm blending it down. Add a little more brown and yellow there. This is a good lesson to sort of think about your color mixing around, right? How are you doing your color mixing? Good practice. Simon John, do you know how big Australia is? It's huge. It's enormous.
It's
I don't have the actual square miles or square meters, any square kilometers memorized, but it's big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very.
It's super big.
We know it's very large.
A lot of it though is like in the center. Like I think we'll go the outside edges.
Yeah, you sort of have to be either on the top part or the northern part or the southern part. And other than the really horrible wildfires that we know that you guys are going through.
That's not still happening. Is that still happening?
I think that to be honest, I don't know the full capacity of it, but I do know that.
Oh God, please!
In the past, there was some really bad.
That was terrible.
So,
if that's still happening and we're not reporting on that, that's terrible.
Well, we're certainly not reporters.
Well, not us. I mean, just in general, like if our news isn't sharing that with us, at this point, I just try to check the Associated Press anymore.
But to that end, we apologize for the trees. The southern coast seems to be quite pretty.
Yeah, that was just awful. I grew up in California, so I kind of understand a little bit how painful that can be. Just pushing this around. We're doing so good, aren't we? It's just building up faster than you could even imagine. All right, let's call this a step.
All right.
Oh, here we go. 7,617,930 square kilometers. Wow. Or 2.9? KHH says 2.968 million miles squared. I think that's squared. It's tiny. I'm just impressed that you got the little squared symbol in there in your text. How'd you do that? This is fun. All right. Let us continue on. Have we stepped?
We did.
And we're going to start getting some fun colors in. Let's get our red and our yellow together, and we're going to start getting into sort of an orange. And it's okay if that orange touches into the green a little bit. I'm going to put out a little more cad yellow because you can see I'm really whipping through it. We're starting to get into our fall drama. You like your fall drama? I like my fall drama. Now it's floods. Shh, guys, I am sorry. It is just unreal out there. Just coming up here. Adding some of that little orange there. But notice I'm not making Jon Snow. I'm not doing snow. I am absolutely breaking up and thinking about these little pops of color in terms of how they might place. Adding a little more yellow into it. Gets quite playful. And we're getting quite playful, if you're noticing. I might come over here and even add a little burnt sienna into it. What? I know. Kind of tipping a little grouping of leaves there. Sorry I move around on you, John.
That's all right. I just try to stay in there so you guys can see a good amount of what's happening.
Just dancing that color around. Just putting in a little of that balance, getting that rust in, because we get a lot of rust going, don't we, in our world, in our little yellow and red here. Now I'm just popping little corners. See, I moved to the corner of my brush to pop in those smaller leaves. That's important stuff. All right, you want to make sure that you are turning your brush so that your forest feels as if there's a breeze blowing through it. That's the goal that we're going for.
Right.
There's a breeze blowing through it. I'm loving this. Just moving these colors, this light orange kind of coming through here. Up into the trees, maybe down a little bit. We haven't even done the fun of, you know, the bright yellow or the blue popping through. It's wild.
Yeah, it's all still coming.
It's all still coming. Now I'm going to go into my red a little more. Notice that? Actually, I'm going to rinse out a bit. I want kind of a cleaner brush. And let's, do we have enough steps for me to break this step into another step?
Sure.
Okay,
We have lots of steps.
Lots of steps. Okay. So let's break this into the pops of red because I want to get into my docks purple to create those, interestingly enough, where I come in and I kind of rust up the red and work that through. All right. I'm going to take a little of my cad red to my docks purple, and I'm going to mix that together. Little doxazine purple and a little cad red. And I'm going to touch in little areas, kind of paint between leaves that I have, popping in some of these deep red bits. Right, doxazine and cad red. Power color mix, I'm telling you. It's amazing what it will do. Go a little darker as I come down here. See, I just add a little more dox purple. I can even cross my tree here. See what I've done? Cross the tree, put it behind some leaves.
Yeah.
As you do. These are dark and down low. One of the things about doing a digital study early on is that you get a little, you're just sitting there watching TV and you're just like, put a color here, put a color here, put a color here. And then later you're like, oh yeah, we got to do that in the painting too. Just something to think about if you're using digital designs to like pre-work some ideas that you have. It's good to think about what it's going to be like when you go to paint it. Now down here, I'm going to go much darker into the purple. It goes very deep down here. I'm still letting the green show through, but it's just much darker. I do recommend, one thing I didn't share is that I have an iPad with the Apple Pencil, and that has pressure sensitivity. And that does seem to really help.
Yeah, it does. It does a really good job of emulating some brush-like stuff.
Yeah, it really does. I was very doubtful, but I am now a convert. A lot more cad red into my docks purple. So I'm still into my deep reds. That's still happening, but it's just brighter a little bit. Kind of pulling that down there. You guys have this. It's going to be such a pretty painting when it's done. And I'm going to kind of come across here. Maybe even push this little fellow all the way back. Let's go a little bit deeper into the purple. See how I pushed that back then by putting the leaves in front? It really does a good job of changing how we engage it. And rinse out my brush a bit. Is it the same color digital as regular paint? So this is an interesting thing. And again, I'm not an expert. So the expert I would recommend to is Bobby Chu, but I'm going to tell you the answer as I am experiencing it. And this comes from printing in my mom's studio. John, could you heat my coffee while I monologue like a villain? Or maybe Luna can. Luna, will you heat my coffee? Okay. So, all color, even pigment, also has a Pantone color code, a hex color code, and a CMYK color code. And there are tools where you can even sample colors from one space and then find out those other codes. Those are generally in interior and concept design tools and stuff, because that's where a lot of that is used. Because if you're like, I need this purple and I need this purple in textiles and I need this purple in carpet and I need this purple in paint, those kinds of numeric values are there. So according to hex codes, or according to CMYK formula, right? The ratios. Yes. Or RGB is another good one. Yes, they are the same. But, and John has talked about this, because these are lit, right? The computer screen is lit. There is this luminousness. You've talked about this before. The luminousness in the color that you don't really get in paint, because it's the difference between illuminated light or color or reflected light or color. So this is reflected, and the computer is luminous. So there's you can get really close though, and Golden has an incredible color mixer tool. If ever you put in a CMYK color into that, you put in any hex code, any of it, and it will tell you what paints make that color. All right. So hopefully that was an interesting answer. Yeah, we could do a new step. I'm going to take my yellow and red together to quite a bright color, just pure orange, right? And I'm going to mix it together, get a nice bright orange. And I'm going to add some pops of that bright color. Just places that I want to be illuminated and nice. Even up here. I'll take it around a couple places. I might wipe off, and then I'm going to get more into my an orange that's a little more biased to the yellow. Right, so it's bright orange, but it's biased a little more yellow, if you guys can see that. And I'm bringing that right into that space. A little more into the yellow. Still got a little bit of the orange in it, but we're just lifting it up, aren't we? We're just thinking about how we're painting. Let's think about what we're doing and why we're doing it. A little more orange there, I think. Just enjoying that right now. Just pulling some light through there. It's always nice to do that. I might kind of wipe off here a little bit. And I'm going to get my red with just a little bit of orange into it, like just a little bit of the yellow. So it's not my pure cad red paint, but it's pretty wow. You can even tint with a little bit of purple. You want it to be saturated, but not its full strength. Look at that go, guys. We are painting something beautiful, aren't we? Coming down low with these bright colors. It's very exciting. Sometimes I get a little more yellow into it, make it brighter orange. Sometimes I'll get a little more red into it, make it more cad. And we're just picking up those little leaves. It's just little touches of the brush, right? Just little touches of the brush. I might sort of focus my attention perhaps at the top of these dark areas, like implying that there's light catching the top of the leaves. That's an inclination that I have. Coming across here. Off the edge of the canvas. We are just being playful. And it's just beautiful to see how it plays against that green. Now rinse out very, 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 very well. Well, the light source on this, based on the blue that we see in the sky, is coming through the trees, but it's diffused, right? And also because this is an abstract, we have a sense of light source and form, but not a complete observance of light source and form. Does that make sense? So we want to be aware of where it is, like we know it's diffusing down and that things will be lighter at the tops and darker at the bottoms and darker down in the depth of the forest, right? And so those things are sort of true, and I'm kind of rounding the trees out, you know, with that in mind. So those are things to think about, but again, they're wonderful to think about, but they're not something that you've got to be overwhelmed by. I'm going to put a little more yellow out here. I think I'm going to go quite bright with it, I think. Maybe even some white into it. right? Just popping a little there. So there's some white into that. Just moving those around. I'm really loving this today. Are you guys loving this? Well, we know it's not cloudy because the blue that's popping through the sky, right? One thing that you can do is you can, well, really just sit out in nature and watch the light as it travels through the day. Put a little bright spot there, right? What is it? Where is it? How does it? Fall, one of the reasons you'll see when you go to the museum, you'll see a painter like Manet, right, paint the same location again and again through different weather. Monet did it, a lot of the Impressionists did it. It's because time of year, height of light, all these things impact color. A little white in there. I'm going to kind of pop a little bit there because I think that will be fun. Even within this, I'm still thinking about the art experience that I'm having. All right, I think we're good there. Let's come back and rinse our brushes out. Super duper good, guys. Good tip, go outside. I know that's a cheeky tip, but it's a good tip. Just sit outside. You don't even have to paint. Just sit out in your chair and watch the world change. Yes. Hi, Luna.
Hi. It's from Rebecca Clowers.
Mm-hmm.
What part of Ireland are you going to?
I have been looking at different places. I'm liking the Waterford area. I like Galway. I do actually like Killarney. That's a really beautiful area. I'm looking for different things out of it. I need a place where, my kids are going to be able to fit in, and, we're all sort of unusual and strange. And so a place with a good sense of humor. And I need a place that has enough infrastructure for us to be able to, get our supplies in, get things shipped in and out. I'd like to be able to catch a train to Dublin if I need to. That we've got a good doctor in the area, good schools, good infrastructure, and but again, just like a sense of humor. I'm really going to be. We're going to let honey go out into the world, fully honeyed out, and we're just gonna like a place that has a real sense of humor about that stuff. I think is what we're really kind of hoping for. So there's still some searching, but there's some narrowing down at this point that we're getting into. Yes, ready for a step. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my blue, my phthalo blue, and a smidge of my burnt sienna. Just a smidge because I don't want to take it too out of the phthalo. I'm going to add a lot of white to it. Kind of thoroughly mix that in. And I'm going to pop little bits of blue sky that are peeking through. I'm going to use the corner of my brush to get those. And that's what that is. Those little bits of blue sky are peeking through, aren't they? Through the leaves. The thing will be like, try not to go too, and it's going to be hard for me too, because like I'm going to want to just go like put blue sky everywhere because it's so pretty, the blue against the color. To be restrained with it is always okay, so like the mayor of Kilkenny comes here every year to the sister city and watches the toilet bowl races and participates in the parade for halfway to St. Patrick's Day celebration. That is awesome. See, that says something. Just popping little bits of sky through here. All right, I think that's all I can get away with. All I can get away with. Now I get to kind of work on the trees a bit, which I think is exciting. And I need a new step. Now the trees are sort of interesting because they're so colorful. I did them so colorful in this. And I think the first thing I'm going to do is kind of go through and start to add the white and the different little colors coming up. And then I'll come back with like the different little yellow blue. So the first mix I'll do is, this was my Mars black and my ultramarine blue. And I'm going to go ahead and mix a little white into it, lining it up kind of quite a bit. And I'm worried that this brush is not going to be able to do the small trees, so I'll move to a smaller brush for the small trees. But I'm going to come here and very lightly pull across the tree. This light mix. You guys see this go? I am using short strokes. I will alternate with some light strokes. It's almost a dry brush because I'm going to build up in layers. That's what we're doing. We're building up in layers. There we go. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? It's the beginning of it. These will be some of the prettiest birches that you've gotten to paint. I hope. That's certainly my goal for you guys. You notice I'm going across, but I'm also kind of throwing a little bit of a curve into my stroke. Come here and hit this too. I have to do the little ones as well. Still dry brushing. I don't have a lot of water on the brush and I'm just letting it skip over the canvas. I'm letting a lot of what's underneath show through. That's helping give me that barky kind of feel. Just pulling that across. I think I can get it up here with this little brush, but it's definitely going to be tight. Maybe a little darker down at the bottom. All There we go. Just kind of tucking this in. It's a tight fit, but I'm in there. There we go. Rinse that brush really out. Really out. You guys are doing great. You guys are doing amazing. Okay. Now I'm going to take the yellow ochre and, oh gosh, a little bit of my cad yellow together, kind of mixing them 1 to 1. And I will maybe a little more yellow ochre, get this into a very light color here. Load it on my brush. It's wild how that layers up, isn't it? Still using the same Simply Simmons brush. I haven't really changed out. A little lighter with it over here because this tree's a little further in the distance, isn't it? It's a little further into the forest, so I don't want it as bright as, say, the other trees. If I'm down lower, I can add a little more brown into it. As I go up, I can get a little more white and yellow into it. Just dance down, make sure I've got a nice little edge there. So I want to break up patterns because I want the bark to feel rough and peeling and impacted by weather and things. More white on there. Just dance it around. Look at that go. So these are lightening up now. So it's a little bit of a business, isn't it? It's a bit of a business. Just pulling it across, dry brushing. Not hard. Not problematic. You guys are okay to do this. You have this. You're good. You're wonderful. Look at us go. Look at this beautiful painting we can do. You can do this. I think you're going to be like blown away by what you can do. Just pulling that there. Less down there. All right, rinse that out just a bit. And let's call that a step. I think that'll be a really good place to have a step. All right, now I'm going to see if I can do my next step with my filbert. If that doesn't work, I am going to go into my 1/4 inch Catalyst Princeton. So earlier we were using the Isabey number 4, and I'm going to also, for control, either in small spaces or when you need different lines, the number 4 Catalyst. All right, and I'm going to come into here and I'm going to add a little bit of white and my turquoise together. And pull that across. Sometimes I'll come on the edge and I'll pull little bands across, right? And sometimes a little more blue. It's okay to pop in a strong bit of blue. There we're doing. It's a very artful tree. Maybe a little more turquoise right here. Fun stuff.
Today's been a quiet painting.
It has been a quiet painting. Oh, Lynn says it's beautiful, and I really appreciate that. I think this is a nice one, very much so. You can come across on the edge. Put bits of blue out. Kind of rinse that out a little bit. Little bit. And a little yellow and white here. Kind of really taking that up at the top of the tree. A little bit there too. Little touches of brighter yellow. A little more white. Just really making sure my bark stays rough. Is rough.
Yes.
So these trees are very colorful. I like them very much. Before you use the black pearl filberts, what made you change to Isabey filberts? Oh, that is a whole crazy story, but not that there's anything wrong with the black pearl filberts at all. It's just other stuff that went on the back end in my business life. All right. I'm going to take a little bit of my purple and my cad red. Maybe a little more cad red in it. I'm going to start adding little marks that are the striations that are part of these little trees. The little little edges here. So I'm just using the corner of the brush coming across. This is the number 4 Catalyst by Princeton. Here's Princeton. Catalyst is a line, 4 is the size, angle is the type of brush. We're just coming across, making sure that we've got little marks. These are not the only little marks we will have. We have many little marks. Make sure that some of your lines are bigger and smaller because nature has a way of doing variety, doesn't it? It's like variety goes, nature says lots of stuff matters, lots of differences matter. Making little scars, little growth marks. Dancing around these trees. These are so pretty. Pretty, pretty. And you're doing it. And you can do them. Yeah? Hmm? Do I need to move, sweetheart?
There's airplanes that are occasionally flying over that are causing the audio to click.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of airplanes today. You can say that.
There's a lot of airplanes today, and it is messing with our audio, I am informed.
Luna is co-piloting, so I'm not on.
Luna is co-piloting.
Hi.
So that is my precocious 10-year-old running the stream right now, y'all.
I'm learning.
Just dancing these little dark marks around. I'm going to rinse out. I'm going to get into my phthalo blue. I might mix my ultramarine blue in, make them kind of together in a half mix. And I'm also going to pop some of these around. Some of these dark marks with the blue, right? So what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I have these nice little birchy marky marks. Sometimes it's dark, but it's got like, maybe a little more blue in it. That's okay. I could add white, I can add blue. It's all fine. I might also get some burnt sienna on my brush. Make a point of putting a few bits of burnt sienna around. Put some on that branch. Put them on there. A little bit up there because those are like little shadows that are coming across. There can be a good amount of it on this little sapling going up. All right, let's call that a step, and then we'll put in the highlights that are going to make it all pop. Step 13. Well, that's where we're going. Okay, so I'm going to take some white, and I'll let it be toned by the ochre, yellow, and brown mix that was already here, right? But I want it to be a pretty bright color. And I'm going to make sure that there's a lot of my tree that has this bright white in it. I'll paint around some of the striations and over some of them. And hopefully all the colors in the tree, right? I want to paint those out. So I've got to be a little bit careful. But just really taking it up into that white birch range. A little bit down here, but lighter down here, right? Just while I'm at it, make sure I put like some bright yellow up here. Back into my white. Just blending the little, making sure it's barky bark. But so colorful. Our bark is so colorful. That is what we're going for, is just color. You know, like every once in a while, if you want, you can put like a little orange in your tree. Look, I just popped a little orange here and there. Nothing wrong with that, right? Just dance that brush around as we're lightening them and making them more interesting. They are impacted by the world around them. Rinsing off. Coming along here, just making sure that this little tree has nice white highlights on it. It's popping out from the background. You got this. You can do this. This is super doable. Look at that go. Isn't that fun? See, when you abstract something, when you don't have to paint it exactly as it is, but you start to paint it how it feels, even though you might observe the world around it, even though those things can inform your painting, right? Your imagination never really leaves the process. I'm grabbing a little yellow and red and different colors here. I'm just making sure that my trees are as colorful as I originally intended them to be. Now, I'm going to be really honest. I don't think I would have painted this without my design process. Right? I wouldn't have taken those risks, or I might not have played in that way. And so it's important when you're trying to decide. I'm going to grab a little of my dark here.
Looks really, really good.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Just making sure we've got some little lines there. And you want to just keep playing with that until you're happy. Now, I feel like we've done a good job. This was a pretty involved painting. And I think everybody did wonderful. I'm going to use my #1 monogram liner again in my blue to be my signature color. So I'm just thinning it and making sure I've got a nice blue. And I'm going to actually sign it up the side. There we go. That's how I would paint these abstract birches in these trees. You guys love this? Trish Woods, can you remind me of the difference between abstract and impressionistic painting? So impressionistic painting is a expression of a moment as the artist sees it. It is not necessarily abstracting the landscape around it, but very quickly capturing it. So the lights, the shadows, the colors, you know, they're done in a fast, expressive way. The brush strokes are loose. You're not tightening it up. You're not doing tonal studies ahead of time, but you are painting what you see. You're catching an impression of it. Abstracting is you're taking the idea of something. You can take it completely out and just paint the feeling of it. Like I could paint the feelings of trees and have nothing in that painting that feels like, that looks like a tree. It's not objective in any way. Or I can take something that is a tree and abstract it, which is that I can paint this very non-representative, and yet it feels like maybe fall. It's more the feeling of the tree. That makes sense. So that's where those two things, like this isn't from a life study. This is about oranges and yellows and all these colors coming together and these lines bisecting it and how a landscape is felt, but I'm abstracting it. I'm not observing it in that same way, even though I might be aware of things like light source and stuff like that. But in Impressionism, I'm very aware of light source and things like that. And so your bale of hay will still look like very much a bale of hay on a misty morning out in a landscape. It's just captured very quickly. So that's some differences between those two things. I hope that's helpful. Okay, so we've got more fall paintings coming up. So many cool designs. I've got 2 more landscapes in this series. I've got a gorgeous portrait painting of a girl, and I've got a really easy celebratory glass of expressive wine. So they're just what they are. They're just the paintings that they are. And then we're going to be doing some paintings this winter. Some of them will just be landscapes. Some of them will be holiday themed. I'm going to try to really switch that up for everybody this year. And I just want you to know I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys being here and showing up for these and being a part of the art community. And I love you very much. I want you to be good to yourselves, be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.